slight technical difficulties, but I do wish to assure you that no one was hurt and this theater suffered only minor damage. So thank you very much for coming to see this demonstration of Muppet Vision technology, and enjoy the rest of your stay, and come see us again sometime.
The curtain has fallen for the last time on Muppet Vision 3D. Rizzo the Rat has served up his final slice of pizza, and the Muppets Courtyard, Grand Avenue, is now a walled-off part of Hollywood studios that we will all have to slowly and painfully watch be torn down. The loss of a beloved attraction is never easy, but this one seems to hurt especially bad. When an attraction closes, the Disney fan community often seems to be split down the middle, with some excited for change and others saddened by the loss. But for most, the reality tends to be somewhere in the middle. Most both mourn the loss and look to the future. Yet there can sometimes be losses that feel so big that they taint the possibility for this more level-headed, excited response. Previous examples of this include the loss of the Great Movie Ride, one of Hollywood Studios' few remaining opening day attractions, or Maelstrom at Epcot, a loss less about the attraction itself but the purity of the World Showcase's vision. Thanks to this replacement truly ushering an IP in a way beyond what we had previously seen, with the Three Caballeros' more cultural-themed IP inclusion. But in my lifetime, or at least for me personally, I must admit that the removal of Muppet Vision 3D feels like one of the most egregious yet. A quick look online tells me I'm far from the only one. On closing day, Muppet Vision 3D had lines that wrapped out of the courtyard and all the way into the extended queue for Rise of the Resistance. Clearly, many people wanted to give this attraction a proper send-off. Now, lots of people did mock this, pointing to the fact that on most other days for the past, decade plus, Muppet Vision 3D had been pretty much a walk-on, but most days have not been the final day. I know for me personally, I watched this show practically every single time I visited Hollywood Studios, and I'm sure the same could be said for most people waiting in that line. Sure, not the general public, but the hardcore fans who attended this final day, almost definitely. So why exactly are we all taking this loss quite so badly? To put it simply, Muppet Vision 3D was more than just another attraction. It was a piece of history and a monument to one of the greatest creative minds of the 20th century. The story of Muppet Vision 3D began with Jim Henson, the legendary creator of the Muppets. For a brief overview for anyone who may not know, Jim Henson was an American puppeteer, animator, actor, and filmmaker, who most notably was the creator of the Muppets. His contributions to puppetry in television and film were revolutionary. Henson showed that puppets could provide entertainment for adults and children alike. And thanks to this, Henson's creative spirit and his dedication to imagination and kindness continue to inspire generations of artists and audiences alike, cementing his place as one of the most influential figures in modern entertainment. In 1989, Jim Henson began discussions with then Disney CEO Michael Eisner to merge Jim Henson Productions with the Walt Disney Company. This deal was publicly celebrated with the Muppets at Walt Disney World TV special in 1990, but after Henson's sudden death later that year, the merger fell apart. Thankfully, work had begun on some aspects of this would-be merger, most notably bringing the Muppets into the Disney parks via more than just a TV special. Plans were initially ambitious, from Disneyland hosting a year-long celebration in 1991 with Kermit temporarily taking over from Mickey, to a full Muppet-themed land, anchored by the Great Muppet Movie Ride at Disney's MGM Studios. Obviously, none of this ever materialized, but there was one plan that had gotten much further in its creation stages before Henson's death in 1990. That was, of course, Muppet Vision 3D. In fact, this attraction was the last project that Jim Henson personally directed before his sudden death. With no merger, this attraction could have just been thrown out, but both parties decided it was too important for this to be the case. Thus, although Disney wouldn't fully acquire the Muppets until 2004, a temporary deal allowed Disney to use the characters, while Henson Productions remained creative control. With this, the Muppets could finally make their way to Walt Disney World's MGM Studios.
The Muppets have arrived at the Disney MGM Studios theme park. Meet Kermit, Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy, and all your Muppet favourites as they come to permanently leave their mark in this spectacular world of glitz and glamour.
Hey everybody, it's time to do the show!
Sorry, what?
Here come the Muppets, only at the Disney MGM Studios theme park.
In 1990, shortly after Jim Henson's death, they featured in their very first attraction, which actually wasn't Muppet Vision 3D, a fact that may surprise some. Instead, it was the live-action show Here Come the Muppets, which ran for just 1 year, leaving when the star of the show, Muppet Vision 3D, was ready to take center stage. Shot by Jim Henson in January 1990, Muppet Vision 3D officially opened at Walt Disney World on May 16, 1991, 1 year to the day after Henson passed. Therefore, understandably so, fans have always rightfully tied this attraction very closely to Henson's legacy.
When we originally set up to do this, what we wanted to do is try to figure out all the 3D gimmicks that you can do and then figure out a way to put them all into one short film.
So it's going to be a swell demonstration, and at no time will we be stooping to any cheap 3D tricks.
Did you say cheap 3D tricks?
So it's working very nicely.
When Muppet Vision 3D opened, it was a hit, with many flocking to see Henson's final film. But over the years, its popularity has certainly fluctuated, largely alongside the general popularity of the Muppets themselves. Film releases such as 1992's The Muppet Christmas Carol or 2011's The Muppets have certainly aided some boosts in popularity. Plus, thanks to this, we've actually seen the Muppets present in the Disney parks in many more ways than just Muppet Vision 3D. They've featured in numerous shows over the years, but unfortunately, Disney's more recent television attempts with the Muppets haven't seen much success. Add to this the fact that Muppet Vision is a 3D theme park show, a style of attraction that is being removed from many parks. 3D or even 4D shows such as Shrek 4D, It's Tough to Be a Bug, and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience have been rapidly disappearing due to their outdated technology. These factors combined made it clear to many that Muppet Vision 3D may well be on the chopping block. But surely this couldn't be the case. With such a legacy and the Muppets only recently having opened 2 restaurants at Walt Disney World, Pizza Rizzo in 2016 and the Regal Eagle Smokehouse in 2020, these beloved characters were still worthy of keeping their 3D show, right? Well, as we all now know, wrong. Very, very, very wrong. On June 8, 2025, Muppet Vision 3D closed for good, and tears were shed by many people. As already mentioned, Muppet Vision was far from the only time the Muppets ever appeared in the Disney park, and therefore this loss is far from the first time we've had to bid farewell to something Muppets related. I mean, let's not forget that Muppet Vision 3D was actually cloned at Disney's California Adventure in 2001, and that version closed in 2014 without all this hullabaloo. And of course, for now, the Regal Eagle Smokehouse still stands as a tribute to all the Muppets' glory, or just a lightly themed place to grab some lunch. But all of this isn't the point. None of these things were built in direct tribute to Jim Henson. None of these were the final directorial project of a legend. Well, one kinda was, but it was just a copy. Not the true original. Not the one that held the real importance. Until June 8, 2025, Muppet Vision 3D remained as a surviving tribute to Henson's genius and his collaboration with Disney. Now, all that is left is one cheap IP trick. The Regal Eagle Smokehouse, a perfect tribute, not. In order to placate fans, Disney claim they are simply moving the Muppets to a new home, that new home being Rock and Roller Coaster. Giving the Muppet an e-ticket attraction is certainly a more worthy tribute than the Regal Eagle. In fact, I am pretty excited to see the Muppets take over this beloved coaster, and I am happy that this will let them live on in Hollywood studios, but it's not enough to convince me that Muppet Vision 3D had to go. This new attraction will not be the final project of Jim Henson, and personally, I just don't think it's a fair or necessary trade. When anything is removed from a Disney park, one phrase is always said to comfort: the Disney parks are not museums. Which is true. Some things are gonna have to go to make way for new things, absolutely. But Walt Disney World spans more than 43 square miles. It's more than twice the size of Manhattan. This isn't Disneyland, where space is a premium. Truth be told, in Orlando, Disney has the physical and financial capacity to preserve legacy experiences while introducing new attractions. Sure, we could argue that space isn't so easy to find at Hollywood studios specifically, but there are so many other things that could go. With its legacy, I truly believe that Muppet Vision 3D should have been treated like a protected historical site. I'd have been okay with some updates. 3D shows clearly aren't a complete relic. as we're getting a new one in the form of Zootopia Better Together, which will be located in Animal Kingdom's Tree of Life Theatre. Perhaps not Disney's ideal new addition, but obviously the Tree of Life is being treated more like a protected site than the Muppet Vision Theatre. Honestly, I'd rather see Rock 'n' Roller Coaster go than the Muppet Vision Theatre. Controversial, I know. But this coaster isn't unique to Disney. There's a clone called Express over at Walibi Holland, and of course, there's Avengers Assemble Flight Force at Disneyland Paris. With the Aerosmith theme going, there's little of significance to cling to. But, of course, this is a far more popular style of attraction. Losing one coaster to make way for a new roller coaster is not what Disney wants. No, Disney wants more e-ticket attractions. To be optimistic, this is what most guests want, so it will certainly help improve general guest satisfaction. But to be cynical, there is also the new money motivation of the paid FastPass system. With the current paid model, a busy park is a direct way to convince more people to pay for lightning lanes. Muppet Vision 3D could host hundreds of guests per show, giving even Muppet haters that sweet gift of air conditioning, and hopefully convincing them to actually appreciate the show. Removing Muppet Vision 3D means removing one more high-capacity attraction, which means an even busier park. And building a new inverted roller coaster in its place means a new lightning lane to sell. In all honesty, this is needed. Hollywood studios frequently runs out of lightning lane time slots, but it's also a park that needs high-capacity attractions, as it often boasts too many long lines and too few flat rides, or yes, 3D shows to fill the gaps. Again, surely we could have had both. I'd happily say goodbye to Pizza Rizzo and Mama Melrose's if that space was needed, but couldn't we have just worked around Muppet Vision 3D? Let it be an extension of Commissary Lane for goodness sake. For once, I really don't care about a cohesive themed land. I can't and won't pretend to not be excited for the Monsters Inc. door coaster. Bringing Monstropolis to a Disney park is a great idea. Plus, with the first film having been released in 2001, it feels like a well thought out addition, not a shoehorned in inclusion to sell new toys. But I hate that we've had to lose Muppet Vision 3D to welcome Mike and Sully. Hollywood Studios is a park that lost its identity a long time ago. I have no points left to make about something like Monstropolis not fitting the park's theme, because it's simply not true anyway. Hollywood Studios' theme is no longer its namesake. Instead, it's just a park for IPs. There's no real cohesion, hence why I'd have been absolutely fine to see Muppet Vision 3D welcomed onto the Commissary Lane of all places. Who says this lane can't reach just a little bit further? I mean, the tap house is staying, why couldn't Muppet Vision 3D? But this, of course, is just a dream. Muppet Vision 3D is gone, and this removal feels like a very clear sign to fans who have been suspicious of Disney for quite some time now. The company's choices are far more concerned with quarterly reports and franchise exposure than with artistic heritage. Sure, this removal isn't the worst thing it could be. We aren't currently saying goodbye to Disneyland's Fantasyland dark rides. But this removal does feel to many to be a signal that nothing is truly safe. Nevertheless, there is nothing we can do. Thankfully, the Muppet Vision 3D film itself is well preserved, and is in talks to be released in a new virtual reality form. Personally, I'd just take a nice physical release, but this feels more like an outlandish dream than Disney making a U-turn on the removal plans. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on this closure. Do you think it's a tragic loss, or do you think that those like me are being a little too dramatic? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my links in the description, as well as some of my other videos. And feel free to share any Muppet Vision 3D memories in the comments.